What's up, guys? It's Samo here, and today we are joined by about half of the Ahrefs marketing crew. First time that Josh and I have met, as well as Tim, so we've never met each other, but we were here in Singapore and we were just talking about kind of how we joined Ahrefs and just kind of our journey along the way, and I guess how we all got to meet today, and for that reason. So today we're just here to discuss kind of our own stories, to share our marketing journeys, and hopefully to help you guys out with, I guess, finding your dream job, or no, that's not right. I guess. No, so basically,
it's not your dream job.
This is not my dream. No. Basically, just helping you guys to progress in your careers, and just if you guys can take anything actionable away from our stories and the things that we shared today, awesome. If not, enjoy the show. Yeah. So why don't we get started with Tim? How did you start with Ahrefs?
Okay, so this is the question I get asked quite often. Basically, when I meet any new people, eventually everything will come to that question, like how did you end up with Ahrefs, like what's your story? Especially since I'm from Ukraine and now I'm working for a company that like does global stuff. So how did it all go? I've been to SEO and digital marketing for I think 9 years right now, and it all started from some junior SEO role where I was trying to learn SEO myself, reading different blogs, watching videos, and trying out like my small new websites for like Amazon affiliates, for just banner advertising back when you could make money with banner advertising and all that stuff. And fast forward a few years, when I had enough experience and enough like money in my account to create something on my own, I started my personal blog and I started some projects of my own. And I even launched a tool that was supposed to be kind of BuzzSumo competitor, but at the time I didn't know even that BuzzSumo exists, because it was like I think 4 or 5 years ago. So I've never heard of BuzzSumo, but I wanted to create a tool where you would plug someone's blog, and it will show you the most popular articles on that blog, because like back then no one was doing it, but everyone wanted to know like what gets popular on social media, what gets more tweets, likes. It was shortly after Facebook and Twitter introduced their tweet and like buttons that all the websites implemented, so it was like a thing. And as I was releasing these kinds of projects and working on my personal blog, I was doing outreach. So classic outreach to get links, classic outreach to get guest articles, to get mentions and all that stuff. And in the process of outreach, I reached out to Ahrefs blog. Back then it was handled by Helen. She works in support. She was doing these roundups of links, like here's what like weekly stuff that was happening in the SEO, in the marketing space, and she was listing some interesting articles. So I reached out to her, and I knew that Ahrefs is a company that comes from Ukraine, that the founder is Ukrainian, because I've read a few of his interviews online. So I basically wrote kind of cheesy email saying that like I'm a fellow Ukrainian and we should help each other, like some bonding and all that stuff. And I don't remember what exactly I wanted, if I showed them my article or if I showed them my tool or whatever it was. But I think I got featured in this kind of roundup, and shortly after this I got an email from Ahrefs founder and CEO Dmitry, who said that he researched me a little bit, he likes my work, and he invited me to kind of write a few articles for Ahrefs and see if we can work together. So this is how it all started. Like, so it's not me who suggested to work for Ahrefs. It's Dmitry who actually researched my work. He actually saw that I had published articles on Mozblog, and that article had won some awards. So I think this impressed him, and he kind of wanted to try working with me. And actually quite fast, I think within 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks max, as I started digging into Ahrefs tools, I saw a lot of things that I didn't think were quite right. So I wanted to improve them, and I messaged Dmitry all the time, like I don't think like your homepage copy is great. I don't think that what you're publishing on your blog is great. I don't think that you're like explaining the metrics in the interface well and all that stuff, or like suggesting some kind of features like it would be fun to have this kind of filter here, it would be fun to have this kind of report. And so basically within like 2 or 3 weeks I started working more and more with Ahrefs, and not only kind of writing some articles for them, but also contributing to the actual product development and creating the website copy, working on the pricing page and all that little stuff. And Dmitry shortly after offered me to come to Singapore and to be in charge of marketing. Be in charge of marketing, I would say, quote unquote, because I was the only marketing person when I came to Singapore. Shortly before I came to Singapore, the woman that was working in Ahrefs marketing, she left for another company. So basically there was no one for me to work with, and I was the only person. So this is how it all started for me. I started working myself on pretty much everything, like on homepage copy, on YouTube channel, on blog, on hints, reports, feature requests, design. Like I was doing everything like myself. And then with time, I got to like hiring people who would help me, who are better than myself at something, and this is how these two guys ended up here. So I think between you two,
Yeah.
Josh was the next hire.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Josh, do you want to tell the story from your end, because
Okay.
I've seen how it happened from my end?
Yeah. So, so I think it was like a couple of years ago now. I was working on like a big link building strategist kind of post that hopefully some of you might have seen at some point. And yeah, I spent like 5 months creating that, and then published it on my own blog. And
5 months.
yeah, like on and off 5 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 60,000 words.
Yeah, it was huge.
Too much, really. But yeah, and then I think you reached out to me, Tim, in like 2016, like mid 2016, like September or something, or 2016, and you said, you know, do I want to write a post for the Ahrefs blog? And I kind of did, and then it just all kind of went on from there. So I was like freelancing for like until earlier this year, freelancing, just writing for the blog, and then kind of officially got hired earlier this year. So now I'm like head of content, which basically just means I'm doing more of the same thing. But yeah, so
I think the interesting bit that you're overlooking is
Right.
that I actually asked you, like, what's your motivation to
Yeah.
publish such a huge article? How do you say it? How long it was? 60K words?
yeah, 60,000 words.
Yeah, so it was a huge article. There was a lot of content. There was like a ton of work invested there, and it was published at basically a blog that was just launched. So
Yeah.
there was nothing there but this
Yeah.
article, and I wrote an email to Josh and said, what's your motivation of doing this kind of work? Do you think that you can get like better ROI if you write for us? Like, do you want like to build kind of your credibility in the niche?
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of end up creating some kind of paid courses? Or like, do you want to scale your agency? Like, whatever you do, I see that you are willing to invest a lot of work. So I'm sure that we can figure out between you and Ahrefs a way where like each of us will benefit.
Yeah.
And so I think this was persuasive enough for Josh to join.
Yeah, so basically I just like to do good work. That's all that really drives me to do anything, really. I just want to make something that's good and that you know, that people actually want to read and benefit from. And you kind of just give me the ability to do that. You just give me the freedom to do that and like the resources to do that. So there's nothing that could be better, really, from my point of view, because that's why I enjoy just creating something and just putting something out there for like people to read and learn from. So.
Yeah, and actually I think one other interesting thing that I want to share right now is that usually when you read some kind of hiring advice, the most common advice that they give you is that you should hire people better than you. But it's like super hard. Like if you're quite knowledgeable in what you do, it's super hard to find people who are better than you. But in case of Josh, it was like the actual case when I realized that this guy can produce content like way better than I am. And one other thing is that Josh has like some experience with stuff that I don't know anything about, like scraping, Google Sheets, working with different tools. So I don't have a lot of experience with that. I'm more like a generalist, so I know kind of the basics of here and there, and I can connect the dots. But if you dig a little bit deeper, my knowledge is not so good. So this is why I was like super happy to find Josh. And I really, before Josh, I was struggling to find someone for Ahrefs blog who would have like more experience than me in SEO, and except for that would be able to kind of write it in an article, in a good article, because a lot of people have better experience than me in SEO. Like it's not that hard to be better than myself at SEO, especially technical SEO, but like combine that with ability to explain yourself and to write like great article, that's rare. So like I kind of took the proactive approach. I didn't just post a few ads on different sites that we're looking for like head of content, we're looking for blog editor who would take our blog to next level, blah blah blah. Actually, I did post this kind of things. I did post these kinds of ads, but like it wasn't working. I saw that everyone who applied wasn't really what I was looking for. So when I saw Josh publish this like huge monstrous article, I kind of knew that I should like hire this guy immediately, and I was lucky that he only published one article on his blog. He didn't invest like enough time and money and resources into his blog to be willing to abandon it afterwards. So I think some luck was also involved there.
Yeah, I think that's some pretty good advice there. You mentioned someone who's better than you, and so Josh didn't come up to you and say like, I'm better than you at SEO, so you should hire me.
Yeah.
But he just kind of proved himself through it, and I think for startups, for small mid-sized companies, that's often what they're looking for, is someone who's self-sufficient and can direct it with minimal supervision, I guess, minimal training. And I think that's really good, is that you were able to go out and create a 60,000 word post.
Yeah.
I can't even call it a post. Like that probably took like, your page speed was probably like 25 seconds just to load that text. But, is to be able to go out there, be proactive, just to do it, to show that, you're more than knowledgeable enough. What's the word that I'm looking for? Self-sufficient? I don't know if that's the right word, but I think you guys...
No problem. English is your first language. It's okay for you to not
It's
remember
okay.
words.
I'm just trying. I'm trying. Yeah. But anyway, so for me...
For you.
Very, very different story.
Okay, tell them that I don't know it, because you told
Tim
me
doesn't
like
know it
3 times that I don't know how...
Yeah.
I don't think I know the full story.
Yeah, so like I kept telling Tim like, you don't know it, and so I kind of wanted him to say like, you want to give me a heads up before, so this is the first time that Tim's hearing this. So okay, so basically I come from a background, originally I started online marketing end of 2008, and so I started, build my own company, sold it off, the typical story that you hear from the younger generation now of internet marketers. And so I experimented quite a bit, and I was trying to figure out like, what is it that I enjoy doing? Is it SEO, CRO, lead gen? And because when I started my first business, I knew absolutely nothing. I kind of had to learn everything on my own. And so I eventually settled on lead generation, particularly in CRO. And so I started doing my own little projects and stuff. Eventually got a lucky break with a company that would send me leads, and so I would just do agency type work. And then from there, I just started doing lead gen. I started my own personal blog, and then I was like, I have a really cool idea. And so like I tend to come up with like ideas that I think are pretty creative. Like, I don't know if these guys think so, but I think that they're pretty creative. And so I was like, you know what? What if I wanted to get a new client for agency work, what if I looked at the intention? So the intention is, if you look at a job post, you already know that they're trying to hire someone. So if I do that, and the intent is already there, then it must be easier to close. Does that make sense?
Okay.
And so I was just like, I was looking through like some of my blogs or the blogs that I like and the websites, and I was already an Ahrefs customer for a few years, and I saw a position for a funnel hacker. And so I was like, interesting, funnels, I can do funnels, that's easy. I'm probably, better than the average person, who does like one drip sequence, and that's considered a funnel, which it's not. But then I was like, cool. So I emailed Tim, and I basically just said, hey, I answered all his questions. I said, hey, here's my funnel. Sent him a video. I don't know if other people sent you videos, or if you even had other applications.
No, I don't think I had too many applications, just a few, and I don't even remember if they sent me any videos at all.
Yeah, so I sent him a video, kind of just walking him through it, and we were just sending emails back and forth. And so, like, my whole intention this time was Ahrefs would be a great client to have, right? And Tim's, I'm guessing your intent was, we're looking for someone to hire, like an employee.
Yeah.
And so we had different things. And so I was like, you know what, it doesn't matter. It's more or less the same thing. It's just a matter of the way that you look at it. And so we ended up talking, and we talked for about 4 months.
I think maybe more.
It was 4 months,
It was
and
a lot
then
of
you
back
said,
and forth.
we don't want that right now. And I was like, no problem, that's cool. And so you're like, but we may open that position up a few months later. So I was like, sounds good. And so Tim didn't follow up. And so, of course, being in lead gen, I set a reminder for myself. And so as soon as that time came up, I'm not going to email him on the exact day, but it's like I saw a notification that Tim had opened my email. There's notifications like that, and then when that happens, it triggers, it sends me an email. It's like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to email him. So I was like, all right. So I was like, hey Tim, I was just thinking about whatever, and then wondering if there's been any progress on that. And then he's like, I don't think we're gonna do that now, but we need somebody to create video content. And I was like, all right, I've done a few videos, and we were talking, and I think in total it was 8 or 9 months before we're like, all right, let's do this.
It was like the slowest hiring process ever.
And so it's just, and then from there, like for the first few months, we didn't really know what we were doing. So we experimented with a few things, and then now the videos that you guys get every week is a product of a year's worth of work. And so, that's kind of the making of how I joined Ahrefs, and it's been kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think from my end, there's a takeaway that, like when I opened position for funnel hacker, to be honest, it wasn't like some deep thinking behind it. So I just knew, like I said, I'm not an expert like in any particular thing. I know a little bit of here and there, but when I want to start working on something, I want to actually dig a little bit into it to understand like what we're doing and to have the responsibility for doing it. So when I posted the ad for Funnel Hacker, kind of my intention was to speak to people and to see if anyone will be able to persuade me that he will help us. So when Sam reached out and we started talking and we started discussing funnels, actually in the process of talking to Sam, I was able to understand that I don't believe in funnels for Ahrefs, at least at the time of what was happening to the company at that moment. To be honest, I still don't believe in funnels for Ahrefs at this time. Yeah, Sam is working on it. But our conversations as we were going back and forth, Sam was pretty open, with devoting a little bit of his time to come up with ideas, to record me some screencasts, to walk me through what kind of ideas he has. Because I know that a lot of people are super afraid to share their ideas up front. If I'm going to share my ideas with this company, they will just steal my ideas and don't hire me. It almost never happens, because when you want to get hired to some company, they want to hire you because they don't have the bandwidth to do it themselves. It's not always that they're lacking ideas. They're lacking good people to act, to perform on these ideas. So Sam was pretty open discussing anything he could do for us. So I asked him what do you think how the funnel would look like? So he would break down the funnel for me. I would ask him some other questions, do you think this part of the funnel makes sense? What if these people will appear in the funnel? How would you automate it? Do you understand the resources that we have? Do you understand if we will need designer for that, if we will need to record videos for that, if we will need to support it somehow with blog content? So we were discussing all these bits, and in the process of discussion I was realizing that like funnels, it's not something we want to like invest our marketing resources into. But what I did realize is that Sam is pretty familiar with the Ahrefs, that Sam is pretty good presenter, that Sam like I think another advice that I've heard from like hiring articles or hiring books is that you should hire a person who can write great emails. So if the email that you send if you send a person an email with some questions and you get a reply, and the reply is structured and they are addressing like every single question that you had for them, and they're not leaving out anything, and they're not adding any irrelevant stuff that will just waste your time. Just by communication with the person, you can see like how good they are. If they're like, if they will execute well, if they will listen to you, if they will kind of comply and agree with you on everything, or if they have their own opinion. So a lot can be understood just by communicating with the person via email. So what I understood is that Sam is like very organized, that he's a good presenter. He recorded quite a few samples of videos for me. So when I realized that we don't really need funnels in the in the definition of like what funnels mean in marketing, but we still need educational materials. We still need to educate people not just with text content but with video content as well. And then Sam popped out again and suggested to continue the conversation about how he could contribute and how he could give value to Ahrefs. We kind of the second time we agreed like much more easily than when we were talking about funnels specifically. So because the second time Sam was willing to simply explore like how his expertise, how his abilities would be helpful to Ahrefs, and we found the position quite easily compared to like funnel hacker position. Okay, do you want to add any extra like takeaways?
Any extra takeaways to that? Persistence, I guess, is one thing.
Beats resistance.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that, so it's not that I was desperate to get a job or anything like that. It was just like, oh, like I remember this. I like Ahrefs. Like I really loved the tool before, I had ever spoken with you. Actually, do you remember the very first email that I sent you?
Not really.
Okay, so the very first email that I sent to Tim, and I think that this is a good lesson for outreach, is that people often approach outreach with a motivation to receive something.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, give me a link, give me a share, whatever it may be. And so I went through this process where it's like, nobody knows me in the internet marketing space. Like, all my stuff is with like small, medium-sized businesses. And so if I want to start to connect with people, I have to start speaking to them like a human being. And so I sent Tim an email, and I just said, hey, I really respect the work that you do at Ahrefs. Like, I love the tool, love the blog, love the content that you're producing. That's it. And then he wrote back to me, which he doesn't remember, but he said something like, hey, like, thanks so much, you made my day. Maybe he says that to everyone, but it's something like...
No, actually, I cannot say that I get a lot of praise. Like every day I open my email box and I'm like, oh, not again, they are praising me for my work. It doesn't happen too often, so when I reply to someone and say that, thank you, you've made my day, it's pretty genuine.
Yeah, and that's the thing though, is that when he responds back, I don't reply, by the way, you have a broken link, do you want to replace it with mine? It's not like, there's no motivation to get something back, it's just an introduction. And so whether he recognized my name or not when the funnel hacker position went in, maybe he did subconsciously, maybe he doesn't remember now because it was well over a year ago.
I need to pull conversation history.
Yeah, and so I feel like small things like that help with just, in general, just networking and meeting people. And people often see like email scripts, and I hate those two words together. It's just an email, right? And I find that people often forget about that. And I know this is kind of going off on a tangent, but I think that it is related in the sense that we're just communicating through email. And often an introduction email to someone can help recognize a name or a face or whatever it may be. I thought that it actually helped when I approached you originally. Maybe not.
Okay, so I think we can wrap it up. probably with some general lessons out of our conversation. And actually, like while we were talking and discussing this, since you shared your approach that you were basically trying to get leads for your agency, I thought that actually the same stuff pretty much applies for getting leads to your agency. It doesn't always depend on you, because some companies, they are open to outsourcing their work to agencies. Other companies prefer to have it in-house no matter what. And it also, I think, it also partially depends on the type of service that you're offering. Because in terms of educational materials, we definitely wanted to have it in-house. However, there's a guy called Brian Harris from Video Fruit, and his story is that he basically started offering explanatory videos to cosmetics, I believe. So he was able to persuade this kind of company to do videos for them while being, call it an agency or outsourced or contractor or whatever you like to call it. So let's wrap it up with some lessons, whether you want to get companies as leads as your clients, or whether you want to establish like long-form relationship, be it like an in-house or you guys are actually outsourced, you work from the comfort of your homes.
Yeah.
I work from the comfort of our office. I think it's quite comfortable. So like you see, we have different situations, and depending like on your goals, I think you might learn some lessons from our conversation and from 3 of our stories. But maybe Sam can wrap up some lessons.
Yeah, so I think in terms of lead generation for SEO agencies, it doesn't really matter what you do. A lot of it is in, I want to use the word persuasion, but it's not in a sleazy kind of way. It's kind of like the way that you persuaded Josh. You asked him a question to make him think, like, what is my motivation? And maybe, I don't know what your thoughts were, but maybe you're like, maybe writing for Ahrefs, I have a platform that has an existing audience where I don't have to, hustle as hard.
Well, I think it was more than just that I knew that they had kind of the resources available to kind of just allow me to do great work.
Yeah.
So, and that's just what I wanted to do, like I said before. It's just, that's why I spent so many months just writing a crazy long article, because I just wanted to put something great out there. And I suppose when I was doing that, I was just kind of thinking like, I just want to do something that people notice, people care about, so.
I'd say, okay, let me try to recap. First is to reach out. So the more people to reach out to, the more companies you reach out to, the higher the chance that someone will reply. Because it's not always, it doesn't always depend on you. It also depends on the company. They might not be in the stage where they're willing to hire someone. Like you might be emailing them in the wrong time. So first, just send more outreach emails. Second, don't be afraid to share your ideas, because like sharing your ideas, like don't worry, no one will steal them, because it's execution that matters. It's not your ideas that matter. So feel free to like write them your best ideas on what you can do like with their company, what kind of value you can contribute. Because unless you do, how would they know like if you'll be helpful to them or not? Third, actually spend some of your time to do some work for them, not just offer your ideas, but do some work for them. In case of Sam, like we just discussed, we talked for like almost a year back and forth, so he wasted a lot of time just talking to me, and actually it was mutually beneficial, because I was learning something from Sam, Sam was learning something from me. So it's not like a zero-sum game that you're just offering your expertise, your advice, and you're getting nothing in return. Of course you will get something in return in any case, or at least you can just agree on some small paid gig, like without a super high commitment. 1, 2, 3, do some work, and like that's it for me. 3.
What's your biggest takeaway from your experience with Dimitri, I guess?
Cut this part, make it seem that I answered almost instantly.
Don't move, go back to that position.
No, we should actually leave it. Well, I don't even know like if there's any main takeaway. I just enjoyed like building something from scratch. I enjoyed coming to the company relatively early, and I enjoyed kind of the freedom that I had with Dmitry to do stuff that I want, to hire people that I like. So yeah, probably I guess a lot of people are dreaming of like their own business and like they hate 9-to-5 job. I have a 9-to-5 job. I don't hate it at all. I get to do like what I like doing. I get like much more benefits compared to if I was launching my own products. I think like Ahrefs was kind of like a trampoline for me because if I tried to do these kinds of things on my own, it would take me like much more time. So don't shy away from jobs. They can be awesome actually, and they can kickstart like whatever you want to do next, because like it's not that everyone will stay at their job for their whole life, which is not bad as well. If you feel that you're progressing at your work and like something interesting is happening and it fulfills you, so it's not a problem. So yeah, I think the main takeaway for me is that 9-to-5 job can be awesome. You can have flexibility, you can have a lot of perks, you can have freedom, so that's my takeaway.
Josh?
I guess my takeaway would just be to actually do something just without someone telling you to do something. Just create something or do something that you want to do that's likely to lead to the kind of job or result or offer that you want to actually get in your life. Just put something out there, just put in the work without being told to, basically.
Yeah. For me, I would say that it's persistence without being annoying, right? It's there are people who. Have you guys been in those email sequences? Not email sequences, but like, I guess they are sequences from one person doing outreach, but they don't stop sending you follow-up emails.
Yeah,
12
follow-up emails.
Yeah.
Oh no.
It's like, oh man, and even though it goes to spam, sometimes it comes back. I don't know. Anyway, the idea is basically like, so number one for SEO agencies, like one thing would be to understand intent, and I guess that happens with SEO anyways, that you're always looking at search intent. But to understand intent on the lead level, I think it actually helps in whatever it comes out to be. In this case, for me, like this is employment for me. It's the first time I've been employed, I think, in my entire life.
The same for me.
Yeah, and so it's a strange feeling. But yeah, that would be probably my main takeaway is persistence, without being annoying. I know it sounds like a weird takeaway, but yeah, I feel like there is value in that.
Okay, and I think that can wrap up this conversation. Maybe we should also add that it was like super random, so if we shared a lot of unnecessary details that bored someone, sorry, unless we'll cut them out like in the process. But yeah, if you liked what you just heard, tell us. Probably we'll find a chance to record more of this stuff or maybe answer any other questions that you may have. So yeah, give us some feedback if we should continue kind of this kind of content. That's all. Let's wave bye-bye.